Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Shinedown. Dance Kid Dance Tour. Live in Memphis. FedEx Forum, Saturday, August 30th. With special guests, Bush and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no-looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzly stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
Live from the Built Ford Tough studio at FedEx Forum, it's the Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South, on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Now, here's your host, Gary Parrish.
My name is Gary Parrish. I'm speaking to you from Midtown Manhattan, New York City. Bennett Doyle back in Memphis producing the program. Glad he's with me. Glad you're with me. Hope you're getting through the day best you can. And I hope you don't mind a nice step up in competition, because we get that tonight for your Memphis Grizzlies. The Jazz, they're in our rearview mirror. Next up, it's the first place NBA leading Oklahoma City Thunder. The 60-win Thunder will be hosting the Grizzlies tonight in OKC. We'll get you ready for it momentarily. First, though, quickly, let me set today's schedule for you. Mike Wallace, senior editor, Grind City Media. He's going to join me in about 20 minutes. He does so on Thursdays. Perfect day to have him pop in with me, talk to him about Grizz-Thunder and other topics throughout the NBA. Mike Wallace going to be here in the next segment. When I finish talking to Mike, take a break, come back, do 5 more things you need to know, at which point we're going to discuss 5 previously undiscussed stories, among them LeBron James. Went on the Pat McAfee show yesterday and said a bunch of stuff that created headlines. Took a weird shot at Brian Windhorst on ESPN, which happens to employ Brian Windhorst. Whole thing's kind of weird. I'll give you the quotes. We'll do it in about 40 minutes. The NCAA Tournament restarts tonight with games in Newark and San Francisco. John Calipari's Arkansas Razorbacks going to be in action. They're playing Texas Tech. I'll get you ready for that in just a bit. Duke University has joined the chorus of folks insisting that the White Lotus has gone too far this season, but school officials aren't even focused on those little freaky brothers. That's not even what they're concerned about. We'll tell you more about it. We'll do that a little later on in the show. And if you ever wanted to own a drive-in, there's now one available for sale in Memphis. That's kind of sad stuff if you grew up with it. I'll tell you what we know in the second hour. And I went to Broadway last night after landing here in New York City. I saw a play that earlier this month became the highest grossing Broadway show in history. I'll tell you about it. I'll give you my official review. We'll do that during a segment we call 5 More Things You Need to Know. Then we'll eventually do GP's Carry Out. We'll call it a day. So that's the rundown. We got a lot to get to, but I did want to start with your Memphis Grizzlies because Game 73 of a scheduled 82, it's going to be played tonight in Oklahoma City. It's going to be Grizz-Thunder inside the Paycom Center, downtown OKC. Tip is scheduled for a little after 7 o'clock, and you can watch it tonight on WMC Action News 5 in Memphis. What up, Channel 5? Or on a WSMV Channel 4 in Nashville, or on WBXX Channel 20 in Knoxville. Big night. Big game for the franchise. It's an opportunity for the Grizzlies to test themselves against a team with the NBA's best record. The Thunder are now 60-12. They've won 7 straight games. They're 14-1 in their past 15 outings. They have a 13.5 game lead over the second-place Houston Rockets. They are 44.5 games ahead of the last-place Jazz, and they're led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a Skims model, who doubles as a heavy favorite now to win his first MVP award this season. 32.8 points, 6.3 assists, 5.1 rebounds. He's 52% from the field, 37% from three, 90% from the free throw line. Big Bet Bennett on a scale of 1 to 7. How excited are you to see the MVP on Channel 5 tonight? It's going to be like maybe, I was thinking about, maybe the first time an MVP has been in his prime and on Channel 5 since Jerry Lawler in the 80s. It might be Lawler in the 80s.
I'm excited to see my team that I root for. So I'm excited to tune in and watch them play.
The MVP will be on Channel 5 tonight. You looking forward to that?
No. There are 3 other games within a week-long period starting today that I would rather see over this game.
I got bad news for you. The Grizzlies are listed as 9.5-point underdogs tonight.
Again, I'm excited to watch the Grizzlies.
9.5-point underdogs tonight. It did open at like 10.5, so the number has come back in the Grizzlies' direction a little bit, but still significant underdog on the road. And there are a lot of reasons for that, obviously. The biggest being that the Thunder are, like, great. They're the best team in the league.
They are very good, yes.
At least according to the record. But another reason that the Grizzlies are significant underdogs is that the Thunder star is healthy and available, and the Grizzlies star, once again, is not. If you're keeping track, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to play his 70th game of the season tonight, while Ja Morant misses his 30th. The news became official yesterday at 5:01 Central via X/Twitter. Status report published. Ja Morant out, left hamstring strain, so he'll miss his 6th straight game tonight and his 30th of the season. To date, he's played 43 games this season. Again, tonight, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to play in his 70th. Ja's never played in more than 67 games in any season in his entire career, and SGA tonight will play his 70th game of this season, and he has played he's played more than 67 games in 5 of his 7 years in the NBA. Again, Ja never played more than 67 in any of his 6 years in the NBA, and unless something changes quickly, he'll be stuck in the 40s this season. Bennett, where are we at on? I guess we shouldn't be surprised to see it out again on the status report yesterday, but it's now 6 games in a row. He's stuck on 43 appearances. The playoffs are right around the corner. Let's do another scale of 1 to 7.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 7, where are you at on just your concern with Ja Morant's health at this point? Because we keep getting told, to the extent we're told anything, we keep getting told everything's going to be fine, but then we keep getting status reports that don't indicate that. And I don't want to say there's a lack of transparency, but I have not heard a detailed explanation for exactly what's going on yet. If you have, you tell me what it is.
I have not. I think I'm a solid 4.8. I'm a solid 4.8 on a scale of 1 to 7. I didn't think he was going to play tonight regardless because, when they just announced him out for the Utah game and not doubtful, I was like, okay, well, he's probably not playing on the road trip at all. So now we know that. I think depending on what happens between now and Saturday, my worry could increase a little bit. I mean, Saturday is obviously a massive game. You're tied with the Lakers right now for that 4th and 5th slot in the West. So Saturday is an absolutely massive game, and it'll be quite a bit of time missed at that point if he sits out Saturday's game. But again, he's out tonight and not doubtful. So am I optimistic that he's going to be playing Saturday? No, I'm not super optimistic. But if there's no change in the status, if he's just out again on Saturday with a left hamstring strain, then yeah, my worry will probably ramp up a little bit.
Yeah, it's just, at this point it is what it is. I feel like we talk about it every day and there's not a whole lot new to say about it, but it's especially an interesting conversation on a day like today because it wasn't too long ago, although it's getting longer ago than we'd like it to be. It wasn't too long ago when these two guards were talked about in similar conversations. They're similarly aged, uniquely gifted. They're two of the rising stars in the sport, and yet their careers have diverged in dramatic ways, and now they're not mentioned in the same sentences very often at all. Again, a lot of this is just availability. Ja has only appeared in 43 games this season and only averaged 30 minutes in those games. So check this out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander tonight, again, will make his 70th appearance of the season. And on the season, he's averaging 34.3 minutes per game for a 60-win team. So not only does Ja not play in as many games as SGA, even when he does play, he doesn't play as many minutes as SGA. And if you're wondering, again, why these two men's careers are in very different places right now, a lot of it is just going to be found in the words that I just said. As for the transparency of all of this, listen, nobody needs advice from me on how to handle that type of stuff, but I do the Twitter searches just to sort of get a temperature for where the fan base is, and frustration is the first word that pops up. Like, people are just confused. People don't feel like they know what's going on with their favorite basketball player.
Well, I think
that's the simplest way to put it. Most Memphians' favorite basketball player continues not to play, and there is not a detailed explanation for exactly what the reason is, and it leads to a lot of speculation and a lot of frustration.
And I think a lot of that, too, is the fact that we didn't see the injury, right? So nobody has a grasp for what it is because they didn't see it with their own eyes. They didn't see it happen in a game, right? And so I think
you're right. And it'd be one thing if we saw him limp off the court. You saw him in transition pull something. Like, it was a shoulder thing, and then it became a hamstring thing, and then it became a different hamstring thing with no great explanation for why or what or when. If I could throw a Zoom link to Taylor Jenkins and put him right across from me right now, like, these are the types of questions I would ask. When did this happen? How did this happen? It was hamstring soreness. Now it's a hamstring strain. Does that mean it's gotten worse? He hasn't played since March 14th. That's 2 weeks ago. Have we gotten better or worse? More optimistic or more skeptical since then? If the playoffs started tonight, would he play? I would love to know the answer to that question. Yeah. They keep saying when the playoffs get here, he'll be fine. But I don't know how you could know that. But let's pin it down, because what does that even mean? How do you know he's going to be fine when the playoffs get here? He was fine 2 weeks ago, and now he's not. So, how do you know that? If game one of the playoffs were tonight, would he be in uniform? Would he play? Would he start? How many minutes? Would you put him at 80% healthy, 90% healthy? It's just sort of strange that we don't have answers to those questions. And you do Twitter searches around Ja's name or hamstring or anything connected to this stuff, and you're going to see a lot of people just expressing frustration on social media, which I guess on some level is what social media is for. But, we're always pointing to the future and pretending everything will be fine when we get there. And then we never actually get to the place where everything's fine. It's just a constant, everything's going to be okay. And then you get there, it's like, but it's not. Oh, it'll be fine by the time we get there. Then you get there and it's like, but it's not. And sort of we're in that same place again. The most on-the-record comments about Ja Morant from the organization are constantly, everything's going to be fine. But it's just never fine. And so it'll be interesting to see Taylor's pregame media availability tonight and see if some of these questions are asked in very specific and direct ways. And sometimes, it's okay to ask follow-up questions. Just because somebody won't answer the question you ask it the first time, you can ask it again and sort of try to pin them down. Back when I was more of a reporter than a talker, I would do those types of things all the time. I mean, I spent years having to ask John Calipari questions that he would try to dodge. So you just ask it again. Then you just ask it again. Sometimes I would ask these questions on camera in press conferences, just so he'd be aware that the camera's there and like people are going to see this. So let's see how you handle it. I'd like to see those types of questions asked tonight, and then if they're not answered, follow-up questions. Because if I'm sitting here going, how about this? This is what I do for a living. Obviously, people will text me and ask me what's going on, and when I don't have great answers, that's a problem. Like, when I don't have great answers, and Chris Vernon doesn't have great answers, and Jessica Benson doesn't have great answers, and the beat writers don't have great answers, it just leads to a lot of speculation that I think sometimes can be counterproductive. So maybe we'll get some clarity on all of this tonight. As always, we'll see. Either way, 7 o'clock tip, Grizz-Thunder. You'll be able to watch it on Action News 5.
By the way, all that being said, if they found a way to win tonight, it would be the biggest win of the season. And I don't think it's close. I don't think it's even close.
Here's the thing. I hear what you're saying, but I don't think of it that way. Vernon and I got into a conversation about this a few weeks ago, and he said something about a similar game. Like, if they could win it, it would be the biggest game of the season. And I don't remember the opponent, and I don't remember the exact circumstances, but it was something like this, where they were shorthanded, but if they could win it, and then, of course, they didn't. But my point was, what does it really mean if they win this game tonight? It's just fluky. It's just fluky. It would just be a fluky thing. It wouldn't mean anything.
It would mean that they're one step closer away from the play-in. I mean, that's what
it would help in the standings. But to me, a big win is something that you can draw from.
Well,
what would you draw from this?
That they beat the number one team their biggest win right now.
That has already locked up everything, and probably doesn't have a sense of urgency. And either way,
but the connotation surrounding this team is that they can't beat the great teams. I mean, I would rather win than lose. But let's workshop this for a second. Grizzlies upset the Thunder tonight. Mm-hmm. I open the show tomorrow and say, Bennett, what do you think? How will you talk about it? What will you think? If I asked you this question, if I say, all right, Bennett, so the Grizzlies won last night on the road, beat the Thunder. What does it mean? What does it mean? You tell me what it means. It means I feel I feel a sense of relief that I actually saw with my own eyes that this team can beat one of the power teams in the NBA. Because right now, like the win that we hang on to right now is that at Boston win back at the beginning of. That was a long time ago at this point. And that's an Eastern Conference team. Like we haven't even beaten these top teams in the West. And especially like going into the playoffs, I think it would be huge. I think a win tonight over the Thunder would go a long way, especially with I think a lot of the fan base would feel not a sense of relief because this team still has issues that like people are going to point towards as we get to the playoffs. But I do think there would be a little bit of relief, like, damn, okay, good, we saw it. We saw them beat a great team in the West. I think it'd go a long way.
It would be helpful for the standings, obviously. It would be enjoyable because wins are more enjoyable than losses. But I guess my point is, and then we'll bring Mike Wallace in, I don't think people can feel great about the state of things until you know exactly what's going on with the point guard. Like, this is my point. It's not that I don't prefer wins to losses, but if we wake up tomorrow and Ja Morant is still listed as out with a hamstring strain for the next game, and we still don't have clarity on what's going on with him, and still can't reasonably expect him to be 100% for the playoffs that are just around the corner, to me, everything else that happens falls underneath that. Everything else is secondary to that. So, like, to me, you beat the Thunder tonight in Oklahoma City, it doesn't prove to me that you're ready for the playoffs or ready to take on the biggest and the best. It's just it would be a one-off on a random Thursday night late in the season, and sometimes wild things happen in professional basketball games. To me, the biggest thing that needs to happen right now isn't that the Grizzlies need a road win over the Thunder while shorthanded. They need they need their stars to be healthy and available and awesome. And that happens so infrequently that we keep, all season long, we've been pointing towards, well, eventually when everybody's healthy. Well, you realize we've been saying that all season long. I mean, really, for 2 years now. We've been pointing to this hypothetical place of health among the stars, and now it's time to take off, and now we're running out of time. The playoffs are just around the corner, and we're still waiting on something that hasn't really been here in any sort of meaningful way, quite literally, in years. I'll talk to Mike Wallace. He'll be with me next.
Grizz Nation gets set for tip-off 1 hour before every Grizzlies home game with the warm-up show. Get the latest news, notes, and analysis live from courtside at FedEx Forum.
This team is doing everything that Taylor Jenkins and his coaching staff envisioned it could do.
Join me, Lang Whitaker, along with Michael Wallace, Jessica Benson, and other personalities from Grind City Media, Memphis, and around the NBA. 1 hour before every home game, live at Grind City Media on X, YouTube, and the official Grind City Media mobile app.
Can't wait. It's time to get it popping.
It's going to be crazy. The fans are going to be loud. We need just energy.
Behind the back to Jerry for the flush.
We're going to need, the Forum rocking. We're going to need, everybody in Memphis to be out there to come to support.
When the fans are good, we're good. Simple as that.
A Bane 3, yes sir! Desmond Bane with ice water in his veins.
We'll ride the energy together.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering, to those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard, bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
We are in March, which is Women's History Month. True. And we were talking about how do we kick off the show? What can we talk about? And we were like, why don't we talk about women's shoes? The Sabrina one. Okay.
Can't go wrong. Right? That's a good shoe.
And the two, you could argue, is even better. But the one's
you
fine.
can't have the two without the one.
Yeah.
Though.
In the month of February, the Sabrina 2 was the second most worn shoe in the NBA in minutes played. The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on Grind City Media on X, YouTube, and the official Grind City Media mobile app.
Welcome back. Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South. I'm in New York City. Bennett Doyle back in Memphis inside the Built Ford Tough studio. And so is Mike Wallace, senior editor, Grind City Media. Joins me on Thursdays. He's here right now. Mike Wallace is GP. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm not as golden and shining as you are, man. Usually I'm seeing you with a cap on, but you got a fresh shave right there, and it's glistening off your dome.
I always have to play around with the blinds in this hotel room depending on what side of the hotel I'm on because the skyscrapers will block the sun for 7 minutes and then not block it for the next 4, and we're always dealing with glares. Bennett is under instructions to text me if the sun glare starts getting like wild in here. So it's this is the way we do it. Only a couple more weeks of this stuff, and I'll be home for good. I'm looking forward to sitting right there in that seat consistently because it's been a rough few months.
There you go, man. Keep doing a great job, though, man. I mean, you're doing a tremendous job. This is the biggest time of the year for you, man, and we're fortunate to have you with Grind City Media as you do your stuff with CBS in the tournament. So I know you're grinding, brother, and I know we're going to get a little bit of a reprieve pretty soon, but keep doing what you're doing.
You're real kind to say that. I appreciate it. Let's talk Grizzlies. Obviously, big game tonight. They're in Oklahoma City playing the first place Thunder. Ja Morant is out. He will miss his 6th straight game with what is described as a left hamstring strain. Let's just stay here for a second. Do we know how serious this actually is? Do we know if it's a concern with the playoffs just around the corner?
It's got to be, Gary. It's got to be a concern. I don't know what it is. I don't know the extent of it. I just get the injury reports just like everyone else. So I feel like, that's not necessarily what the people want to hear. You know what I mean? Obviously, we are internal media, you know what I mean? And a lot of people have this misconception that we get access to a lot more information than we do sometimes. The basketball side, basketball operations is real tight-knit when it comes to these kind of things. And when you're not with the team, as I'm not with the team right now, I'm right here. I didn't travel on this 2-week trip. I wish I would have had a little more insight to offer on Ja, but it's pretty much been treated like a day-to-day, except it's now week-to-week. And unless you answer those questions or at least put people in position where they can have some information about it, it's still kind of anyone's guess right now. I know it will be cleared up a lot more when the team gets back from tonight's game, and then they have to face media and they're back home. So hopefully we'll get some insight on where this goes from here. Because as of right now, we don't know if this is 2 weeks or if it's 3 weeks or if he might be back starting next week. So we'll see.
I like the way you put that. We obviously we're employees of the franchise, but the idea that we are just sitting around a conference room every day hanging out with the front office or the coaching staff or the players, that's just not the way it works. Like we rarely even see those people in the building. And so when I say I wish we had more information, I want to be clear. I don't even mean Gary Parrish as Grind City Media's Gary Parrish. Mm-hmm. I mean Gary Parrish is just somebody who cares about the Grizzlies and follows the team. Like I would like to have a better grasp as a fan, for what exactly is going on with the person I believe is the most important to the franchise's success. And I don't have great answers for people when they ask me. And I wonder if you think, because I think we can talk about this reasonably without yelling and screaming and ranting and raving. Mm-hmm. But do you think the frustration that some fans show with what would be deemed a lack of transparency is well placed? Because what I see on social media from some fans is it was a shoulder thing. He was playing through it. Next thing you know, he's just not playing in the next game. It's hamstring soreness. When did this happen? How did this happen? Now it's shifted to a hamstring strain. Yeah. Now it's been 2 weeks, and they keep telling me everything's going to be fine, but they've been telling me everything's going to be fine for a couple of years now, and I'd like to have an answer to this question. If the playoffs started tonight, would he be in the starting lineup? And if not, why? Like that we don't have answers to those questions, I think has become a source of frustration. Do you believe it's a reasonable place to be frustrated?
It certainly is fair. It certainly is fair, especially when you are asking your fan base, coming off of the year that happened last year, to have some trust and some belief in what's going on. I mean, no team in NBA history had the kind of injury season that the Grizzlies had last year. And you put measures in place to try to avoid having to go through these same kind of things again. I think fans are fair because, even in our positions professionally, if we were external media, there are a certain set of direct questions that we would be asking, about what's going on from that standpoint. But you also have to have access to it, to the team as well, too. I think that's also, I don't want to say a referendum, but it is a reality check on where today's media is. Neither the Daily Memphian nor the Commercial Appeal are traveling with the Grizzlies for a 2-week stretch when something like this is happening. So they can't get answers to questions, and they're legitimate media outlets that should be covering this team when you talk about those kind of things. So it's not just one segment or another. But I will say this, to your point, it's fair to it's fair to expect consistency. When Brandon Clark messed up his knee, we found out 2 days later in a release, Brandon's out for the rest of the season. Here's the injury. Here's, we'll follow up after whatever. When Jaren Jackson Jr. sprained his ankle 3 weeks ago, we found out 2 games in, this is going to be a week-to-week thing. We'll check back in week to week. We haven't heard anything with Ja. So Ja's situation has been handled differently than the last 2 that you deliberately communicated about. So that only raises more questions. And I think it's fair for fans to wonder that. And, it's a lot of trust that you're putting in right now when you're going into the biggest 3 home games of the season and you got 10 games left before the playoffs start. Ja Morant's status is the number one issue affecting this team right now, and that's going to be the case until it's resolved.
I guess the most optimistic possibility would be that there's something there. It's not that serious. If game 1 of the playoffs were tonight, he would be able to play. But game 1 of the playoffs is not tonight, and we're going to slow play this thing and be extra cautious. And so the reason we're not being as transparent with it as you might like is because if we say what that is out loud, the NBA will put pressure on us because they don't want Ja Morant not playing when he could. But the truth is, we're just going to slow play this. We'll bring him back a few games left in the regular season, and then hopefully we'll be ready to go. That's the most optimistic possibility. That's what I hope is true. But if that is true, I would love to hear somebody say it, even off the record, through anonymous sources.
I agree wholeheartedly with that situation. And again, it's one of those things where it is tough because we just heard Ja Morant, 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago talk about how, man, he questioned whether he should be playing even with the shoulder situation. And now when you compound that with the hamstring, it's like, okay, how much of this is pain tolerance versus, hey, I need to get my body right? How much of this is Ja-led versus medical staff-led? The distinction have certainly changed. And when you look at the timeline, and I'm not being a sleuth, I'm just going by what's public out there. He scores 44 points, season best game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number 1 team in the East. The next night, you expected him to take a game off because he hasn't played back-to-backs, right? And that was shoulder soreness against Miami. Then you have back-to-back games. The Sunday is a lockout day, so there's no activities going on with players. And then come that next Monday, he shows up on the injury report with hamstring soreness. So how long and when did that happen? When was there an opportunity for that hamstring to be sore? And now it's gone from soreness after 3 games to strain, and he hasn't put any more pressure on it between soreness and strain. So you have to understand, okay, sometimes this designation happens because of the league and they require you to have an injury and not just soreness to miss extended amount of games. But then another thing happens is when you have 3 days off between games, you expect 3 days to be a great recovery opportunity, and you still remain out. So that's one of those things. Again, those questions have to be answered, and they will be answered as soon as Taylor Jenkins has an availability back here at home.
All right, let's talk the game specifically. 7 o'clock tip. It'll be on Action News 5. Grizz at Thunder. Ben and I were talking about it in the opening segment. His position is like it's a huge game. My position is it's more of a huge game because of the standings than the opponent, because at this point all the games count the same, and you are tied for 4th with the Lakers, only 3 games ahead of the Clippers and Warriors. Slipping into the play-in remains a possibility, even if it is unlikely. I guess this is what I mean. If the shorthanded Grizzlies beat the mostly full-strength Thunder tonight, I will not draw from that it has a big like grand meaning, like it means they're ready to get into a 7-game series against that team. I'll just take from it that it was probably a fluky win, and if they lined up and played the same game tomorrow night, it would go a different way. The Thunder are 10-point favorites for a reason, but it is a big game because right now you're on 44 wins. You want to try to get to 45 tonight. There's not much left, and you're bunched up pretty good with the Nuggets, Lakers, Clippers, and Warriors.
Yeah, you are. And you look at those standings, and I wrote it in the piece, my Mike Check column piece that's on Grind City Media and Mem Grizz today, is about what I expect. I don't think this is a measuring stick anymore. The first 2 times that Oklahoma City and the Grizzlies played, they were 1-2 in the West. And, optimistic Grizzlies fans can say, hey, this is a measuring stick for what this team might have to do to get to the NBA Finals, go through Oklahoma City. These are 1-2. It could be a preview. These last 2 games, including tonight, it's not a measuring stick anymore. It's more, and I say it's a temperature check. What is the Grizzlies' pulse as it relates to where you are right now in the standings and how your mindset is going into the playoffs? Is that desperation going to be there? I don't expect them to go to Oklahoma City and win the game. Odds aren't in the Grizzlies' favor. But do I expect them to go there and have some fight and to show and maybe give Oklahoma City something to think about? Especially if you end up in the 4-5, you win the first round series, you got to play them in the second round. Or, God forbid, you end up in a situation where you have to play them in the first round, which I don't see that happening from that standpoint. But you got to give that team something to think about, as well as show the rest of the league or the rest of the West that, all right, we're desperate right now. These last 10 games, starting tonight, you got 8 teams or 9 teams that are still playing for a postseason opportunity. The only team that's completely out of the mix is Charlotte, right? Everybody else is fighting for something. Oklahoma City isn't fighting for anything. They're just trying to stay healthy and get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a unanimous MVP at this point. But everybody else, man, has something to play for or a reason to go up against you and give you their best. The Grizzlies have to match that. Whether talent wins out or not, it remains to be seen. You're not full strength, but you definitely have to be full effort.
Last thing before I get you out of here, wrapping up with Mike Wallace, Grind City Media. Big headline this week, Damian Lillard sidelined indefinitely with a blood clot. He's the 3rd NBA player to deal with a blood clot this season, the second superstar, the other one being Victor Wembanyama down in San Antonio. I think for basketball fans, the thing that pops up very quickly is Chris Bosh. This, I gather, is not as serious as the blood clot that ended Chris Bosh's career in Miami. But were you around the Miami franchise then? What do you remember about the Chris Bosh thing and how scary that was? I mean, we're lucky, like, it didn't cost him his life, but it did cost him his career.
I was right in the middle of it, man. I was right in the middle of it with Miami for ESPN every single day for 6 months. That was a story, checking in with SportsCenter or being on the website and, doing sideline reports because initially you feared for his life initially, then you feared for his career after that. And then you discovered you do deep dives into all kind of medical research and things of that nature. And to see Damian Lillard have to go through that now, it's gut-wrenching. Victor Wembanyama already went through it. And what we know now is that, and here's the scary thing, Gary, that the kind of testing that would determine the thrombosis doesn't happen regularly. But I would imagine probably 10 to 20% of NBA players, if they were truly tested, you might see a lot more players end up with something like this or have something like this that they're playing through. Just because of everything that goes into the travel, the injury recovery, the maintenance, the supplements, and all of the things that they're taking to fight off different kind of injuries, those things can happen. It's unfortunate. Chris Bosh eventually got into a legal battle with the NBA and the Miami Heat over his right to play. And they eventually allowed him to sign a max extension that had insurance implications, and he was able to retire with all of his $200 million. Hopefully it doesn't get to that case with Victor or Damian, but it certainly changes the trajectory of the Milwaukee Bucks' upside at this point.
Yeah, it's scary stuff. That's Mike Wallace, Grind City Media. Make sure you read him, grindcitymedia.com. He's on X, @MyMicCheck. That's @MyMicCheck. You're the best, buddy. I appreciate you being in studio. Thank you, and I hope my car is parked appropriately.
You never move it, man. It always stays there.
Well, now I have to keep it protected in the garage because these cars are targets now. These cars.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No, I'm strategically leaving my car in the parking garage to keep it protected.
There you go. That's smart. That's smart right there. Good move, baby. Good move.
All right. I'll see you later, Mike. That's
all right,
Mike
man.
Wallace.
All right.
Grind City Media, grindcitymedia.com. Bennett, so the other night, we're in studio. We're doing these. We'd have a show like from 6 to 8, and then we wouldn't have another show until 1 a.m. So we're basically off work from like 8 p.m. till 1 a.m. And I just stay at the studio, but if you wanted to leave, you could.
Yep.
And Roy Hibbert and Chris Walker decide they're going to go to the place that Roy has access to and watch the games there and get a bite to eat there. I just decided to stay at the broadcast center and get some work done. Anyway, they order an Uber, and a Tesla Uber comes and picks them up.
Okay.
And they're like at a red light, and they got rear-ended. Like Roy Hibbert was in a traffic accident last week in the middle of, and we don't know if it was a targeted attack or just somebody being careless. But he was in a Tesla and got rear-ended. Very, very, like it was intense. He was sore. He came back to work sore.
I was thinking about this. If I was you, I might just get like how many characters do you get on a license plate? You could just get like, I'm an ally or something like that. Get a license plate and put it on there.
You know what I was? Here's the weird thing.
Or a bumper sticker.
Like in my neighborhood, my car's probably safe. You know?
It's become popular. Look at you.
My neighbors used to make fun of my car. Now they probably wonder if I'm coming around.
If they can buy it from you, yeah.
Now they want to buy it from me.
Yeah,
I swear, like this really does bother me. Like I am now
Why? Who gives a crap?
I mean, that's the truth. Who gives a crap? That's the truth. But I used to get out of that car and people would go, I don't know what they would do. But now I get out of that car.
He cares about our environment.
I don't know what they'd just be like, that's a neat car.
They should still think that, by the way.
Yes, the environment's important, Bennett. Here's what I'm trying to say. Now when I get out of that car, I feel people looking at me like I've done something wrong or I'm doing something wrong.
That is so stupid.
That. I feel judged every time I get out of that car. Like I walked out of a store the other day and there were two people like taking a smoke break and they were just smoke breaking near my car, looking at my car. And I just sort of walked to my car and I was like, hey, okay, see you guys later. See you next time.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, yeah, we were just looking at your car. And I don't know what they were talking about my car, but I just drove away very quietly because they don't make much noise. And I was just like, I wonder what they were saying. I wonder if they thought I wonder what they were saying about my car. And I wonder what they think about me because I got into this car. It is just weird to own something that has become the opposite of the way it was perceived 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when you bought it.
My stance on this is if we are making cars, which we clearly have, I've seen the videos, if we're making cars political, we are so cooked. I mean, we are so cooked. Like, we are cooked as a society. Like, who gives a crap? I saw there was a protest in front of the Tesla dealership in Bartlett. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, why? It is so dumb. I'm not even saying there is no sides. It's a freaking car. It's a freaking car company. Like, what are we doing?
Also, do you know how many times over the past month or so I've said, this is how insecure I am, how many times over the past month or so in conversations when my car comes up, I then go out of my way to say, well, you know, I bought it back before. I'm compelled to say that. I'm compelled to say that out loud to lower the likelihood of being judged by strangers.
I mean, I
actually think that's a sad commentary on me. I think that's a sad commentary on me, but it's the truth. I'll be in studio and somehow it'll come up, like Brent Stover will be like, oh, you know, GP and Tesla, blah, blah, blah. And then there'll be a whole room of people and I'll feel compelled to say, well, you know, I bought it like, you know, a year and a half ago before it became what it's become. Just to make it clear, hey, I ain't rocking and rolling with all this other stuff that's going on, you know?
Yeah.
It's a weird. The good news is that I barely drive the car anymore. But like in 2 weeks, I'm gonna have to.
It just sits in the parking garage.
It just sits in the parking garage next to Mike Wallace's car, you know. But in 2 weeks or so, I'm gonna be back home and I'm gonna be driving daily, I believe. It's something I'm gonna have to come to terms with.
I think you'll be okay.
I'm gonna have to figure out.
I think
I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, you're a real weirdo if you damage people's Teslas. Like, you're a real weirdo. I mean, just that's real weirdo behavior. I might agree with some of your views, but you lose me at let's go damage some Teslas.
I am not for damaging other people's stuff, no matter who they are.
Me either. Okay.
I'm not in favor of damaging other. Leave my car alone. All right. I've already had enough. I've had tire problems. I've had 2 tire problems over the past 2 months. I almost went dead at FedEx Forum. Thank God Marcus Smart's got traded, or else I wouldn't have had anywhere to charge. Mm-hmm. It's been an adventure, Bennett.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. I'll protect your vehicle, bro. I'll go keep an eye on it today.
Yeah, keep an eye on it.
I got you. I check in on it every now and again.
Okay, just see how it's doing. You know, check on it every once in a while. When we come back, LeBron James decided to spend like 4 hours on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. He was in Indianapolis to play the Pacers, decided to pop in studio and said all sorts of wild things. Talked about his relationship with Michael Jordan, his relationship with Brian Windhorst. We'll talk through it next. Gary Parrish Show presented by Ortho South.
We had big classic news from the Southern Heritage Classic last week when it was announced Arkansas Pine Bluff and Alcorn State will be the 2 Classic participants.
Being a part of the Classic is a big deal. It's the 3rd year for UAPB and the 1st year for Alcorn. So I'm just glad we were able to get it done.
Get all of your HBCU sports and culture news by tuning in to HBCU Huddle with CJ Hurt and Mike Wallace. New episodes drop every Thursday on grindcitymedia.com, YouTube, and Spotify.
Bain, a pump fake, a 3. It's through for Desmond Bain. FBK. Fly by King. Wheels through the lane. Now spins back. Ja hangs. Puts it in! Oh, what a shot by Morant in the clutch. So hot. Oh, Jerry said no!
Because he doesn't put on a play, comes up with a monster block.
Grammy, Academy, and Golden Globe Award-winning superstar, Mary J. Blige, live in Memphis. The For My Fans Tour, live at FedEx Forum Saturday, April 19th, with special guests Neo and Mario. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The iconic Mary J. Blige for one night only.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item, whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing compares to catching your Grizzlies IRL. And that all starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight. Put that jersey collection to use for the next game and get Grizzlies tickets at Ticketmaster. Whether they're here at FedEx Forum or on the road, Ticketmaster's got your back when it comes to scoring tickets. And there's no better brag than saying you saw it live.
Orthopedic injuries can be unpredictable, unforeseen, and unscheduled, and Ortho South understands this better than anyone. Since your injuries don't make appointments, you don't need to either, and that's because Ortho South welcomes walk-ins during the weekdays and the evenings and even on Saturdays. So next time an unforeseen injury makes an unscheduled appearance in your life, visit orthosouth.org to find your nearest location. Just walk in and Ortho South will take care of everything, especially you. Learn more at orthosouth.org. That's OrthoSouth at orthosouth.org. Now I got 5 more things you need to know.
Number 1.
LeBron James went on the Pat McAfee show yesterday and said a bunch of wild stuff. Talked about his relationship with Michael Jordan. Said it's not great and doesn't think it'll ever be great until he retires. Because he doesn't think Michael Jordan has any interest in watching him run up and down the court and do things that continue the never-ending conversation about who's the actual GOAT, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Whether LeBron's right about that, who knows? The thing that got the biggest headline is he was on ESPN and took like a side swipe, a shot perhaps even, at Brian Windhorst. Did you see this quote about Windhorst?
Yeah, I thought it was fairly mean.
It was just mean.
It was
unnecessary. Mean. Here's the quote.
I love our king, but I thought that was kind of mean.
He was talking about, the talking heads in the NBA and how he, as the face of the league for so long, is just a constant source of conversation. And in the context of a conversation about that, a million other things, he settled into a place where he said the following. He said, I see Brian Windhorst on one of these shows not too long ago, the guy who says he's like my effing best friend. These guys, it's weird, end quote. First off, Brian Windhorst has never said he's LeBron James' best friend.
He's never said that.
He's never said he's LeBron James' best friend.
You can't find a quote of him saying that.
It doesn't exist.
No.
All right? He talks about LeBron James from a unique position because he is one of the few people who have a prominent media role today who actually knew LeBron James when LeBron James was a teenager, who was there from the very beginning. And if he presents himself like that, it's only because it's true. You know, I'll get into conversations on podcast or, you know, college basketball shows. And if John Calipari comes up, I will talk about him in a way that I have a unique perspective, because I do not think there's another media member alive who has ever spent more one-on-one time with John Calipari than me. I don't think so. I mean, I was in his practices every day for 4 years. When he left Memphis, he didn't have open practices at Kentucky because you can't. It's too much media. It's too crazy. But like at Memphis, it was just me most days. It was just like me. And so when I talk about John, I can draw from these experiences and I can provide context from those days. And I can say things like, I mean, I did it just this past weekend while talking about the emotion Ellen Calipari and Megan Calipari were showing in the stands. This is actually a good example. Yep. When Arkansas upset St. John's to go to the Sweet 16. If you go listen to the Eye on College Basketball podcast, at some point while talking about this, I said something along the lines of, I've known Ellen for 25 years, and I've known Megan since she was a little girl. You know why? I said, it's true. That's just a fact. You know what I didn't say? Ellen and I have been close for years. Ellen and I used to talk every day. Or, you know, Megan and I still text. So, like, what? No, I didn't say any of that. I'm not best friends with Ellen Calipari. I'm not best friends with Megan Calipari. I'm cordial with them when I see them, but I have known them both for a long time. I properly framed it. But if somebody then went on TV and was like, and I heard Gary Parrish talking about Ellen Calipari acting like they're effing best friends, I'd be like, what? I never acted like we were best friends. I said I've known her for a long time, which is true. Similarly, Brian Windhorst has known LeBron James for a long time. He can talk about when LeBron was 16 years old. He can talk about the first time I met LeBron's mother when LeBron was a freshman in high school. Like, he has these stories. And yes, his career is largely tied to LeBron James. And perhaps that's weird, or at least unusual. But the idea that Brian Windhorst talking about LeBron James being offended because he thinks Brian Windhorst acts like they're best friends is just a weird criticism rooted in something that's not real. I have never been given the impression that Brian Windhorst thinks he and LeBron James are best friends. It's just that they are so closely attached to each other because their careers really, they start at the same place and they have gone to similar places. LeBron James is a very famous basketball player, and Brian Windhorst is a very famous basketball reporter. And without LeBron, Wendy might not even exist as a prominent NBA reporter, but like, he got there however he got there, and he stayed there because he's talented and because he's good. And I just thought that was an unnecessary shot at a guy who has never actually pretended to be what it is you are claiming you're bothered by. I didn't like it.
I didn't either. Now, I will say the conspiracy theorist in me, and someone who loves wrestling, did not a little bit of you think that this was a whole giant work from LeBron and ESPN and, you know, their big partner of the league?
You tell me. What do you mean?
So, obviously, Pat McAfee's show is on ESPN, but it's very. They acknowledge. I mean, there's the scroll running across the bottom of the screen saying the opinions on this show aren't affiliated with the ESPN or whatever it says. So it's on ESPN. It's almost like a separate entity from ESPN, but it's still on ESPN. And then the beef with Stephen A., right? Like, which everyone's talking about today. He's ESPN's, biggest personality, right? That's on all the shows. I just wonder if it's not like. It just feels like it's manufactured a little bit. I wonder how much of this is like super sincere. Now, Stephen A. did go on TV this morning and said some wild stuff that might make me believe the other way, but I just wonder if some of this is a little manufactured. just to get some buzz going?
I think it's much simpler than that. I think LeBron, first off, I think Stephen A. Smith has reached a place almost nobody ever reaches, which is a place where every word that comes out of your mouth can create headlines. And even the people you're talking about are going to hear every word you say. Like,
yeah, everything he says gets clipped and most days will go viral. Yes.
Everything, no matter what he says, the person he's talking about is going to hear it. He is such a big deal now. So if he's talking about Alabama and Nate Oates will hear what he says.
Mm-hmm.
If he's talking about LeBron James and the Lakers, LeBron James will hear what he says. If he's talking about Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani will hear what he says. With few exceptions, there are some people who are capable of just absolutely unplugging and they don't know what anybody's saying about anything, but that's rare. Most people are going to hear it, particularly if it comes out of Stephen A. Smith's mouth. So he's making $20 million a year now. You know, there's a lot of pressure on him to deliver, and his job is to talk. And so you just trust me as somebody who talks all day long too. You know that it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking, and you get to a place where a lot of the talking ends up being about not only LeBron James but about his son. And LeBron James has been dealing with people talking about him forever. So you could probably deal with that, keep it moving. But this whole turning on your TV and watching the biggest voice in the NBA blast your son or mock your son or take shots, fair or not, at your son, that's a new one. And so I think LeBron genuinely approached Stephen A. Smith at that game a few weeks ago because he was bothered by the way he was talking about Bronny.
Yeah.
And then so you know what happens? Stephen A. Smith pops on TV the next day and pops on podcast. And as LeBron said yesterday, he's like doing a Taylor Swift tour right now. So LeBron James is sitting back watching Stephen A. Smith get to say all the talking, do all the talking about how this thing went down and what it was about and what it wasn't about. And so it's pretty clear over at ESPN that though Pat McAfee and everybody else at ESPN work under the same umbrella, like they're all, you know, on some level ESPN employees, they're not best friends. Like the NBA, Pat McAfee has said this before. The NBA people are hard to work with at ESPN. We can't get them to really work with us. They don't want to come. They don't want to be with us. There's like clearly a disconnect between the NBA people at ESPN and the Pat McAfee show. So just follow me here. Stephen A's taking shots at Bronny or criticizing Bronny, perhaps fairly, but still. LeBron doesn't like that, decides to say something to him. That's my son. Stephen A., because he's getting paid to talk, is suddenly talking about it nonstop. LeBron gets bothered by that. Somebody makes a connection saying, hey, if you hate the Brian Windhorst and the Stephen A. Smiths and all of the ESPN, NBA on the ESPN people, well, guess who else hates them? McAfee. Hey, you want to come on his show? It's bigger than all their shows, and you can trash them on his show, and everybody will laugh about it. To me, that's what it went down.
And I could buy that too. I will say, man, first off, the whole thing was fascinating. Just LeBron just sitting in there talking with McAfee. I hope that thing lasts there, by the way. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm like a daily viewer, but ESPN gets a lot of flack for like, you know, the way they do programming stuff sometimes. I think it's cool that they put that show on their platform every day. I do, because he says wild stuff, like he will, and I guarantee you that a lot of people that network cringe a lot of times with that show. I mean, you go back to like the Aaron Rodgers stuff, right? When he came on every week. I just think it's cool they put that show on ESPN. I hope they keep doing it.
My prediction: it will blow up at some point.
Of course, it's teetering. It's been teetering.
Yeah, it's been.
But
teetering.
I hope it doesn't because I think it's good. Yeah.
They walk right up to the line all the time, all the time. And like he, I don't know if this is true. It just feels true. Like every few weeks, it sounds like he's having to apologize for something. Like just sort of say, hey, there'll be a day where it just goes too far. I don't know when it will be. I don't know what it will be exactly, but I don't wish this. Like, I'm happy to see anybody have success, and I think it's actually amazing that this guy has turned into what he's turned into. Like, I won't pretend I saw it coming or that I completely understand it, but undeniably he is a star, unlike anybody else or few others in sports media. but I would worry. Somebody told me this about the whole Barstool thing one day. They were like, if one day it's just it'll be Portnoy and he'll take it too far and it's just going to get bad. Now, they've survived everything over there. They've survived everything. But when you just consistently go up to the line, eventually you cross it, and that's when it can get a little, we'll see. But for now, he's got a monster going over there, and when you can get a celebrity as big as LeBron James to sit down with you and just chop it up like that for a long period of time, live on TV, like that's awesome stuff. But I really do believe this. LeBron didn't want to go on Pat McAfee's show as much as he wanted to go on ESPN and trash the ESPN people, including Brian Windhorst. And the best place to do that is the Pat McAfee show. And maybe the only place to do that is the Pat McAfee show. That's how that happened. That's how I believe that went down.
Number 2.
The NCAA Tournament.
Yeah,
restarts
let's
tonight.
go.
We got games in Newark, and we got games in San Francisco. Your first game, 6:09 tip on CBS, America's Most Watched Network, Network of Stars. BYU, Alabama. Then at 6:39, Maryland, Florida. At 8:39, Arizona, Duke. At 9:09, Arkansas and Texas Tech. Let's focus on the Maryland-Florida game because that's where you've got an interesting storyline developing. Have you been following this at all? Do you know what's going on?
Yes, about the Maryland coach, yes.
So the Maryland coach is Kevin Willard. And if you've been following the coaching carousel, you know that most of these jobs have filled pretty quickly, the big jobs. Like Texas was open for a few hours. West Virginia is now filled with your old buddy Ross Hodge from North Texas. Remember when we thought Ross Hodge was going to be a threat to Penny Hardaway, AAC Coach of the Year?
I do remember that, yes.
We no longer have to worry about Ross Hodge.
Now it's Ron Hunter. He ain't going away, buddy.
But like all these jobs are getting filled pretty quickly.
Weird
That's
move,
my point.
by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Money. It's got to be NIL and just money.
Yeah.
There's just more money connected to North Texas than there is to Lane. That's it.
Yeah.
So all these jobs are getting filled pretty quickly. The Villanova job's been open for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like you're reading and, they sit down with this guy or they sit down with that guy. It's just sort of, they're just waiting on Kevin Willard, it appears. And so Kevin Willard has been asked about this, and the speculation is increased because he's taken to using this Sweet 16 run to publicly criticize his school, the University of Maryland, for not prioritizing NIL, and has gone back to this story about around Christmas, we were in New York City, and I wanted to stay an extra night in New York City with my team, but I was told by my athletic director and the university officials that we didn't have the money for that. It was too expensive. And, if you want me to run a big-time basketball program like the one Matt Painter is running at Purdue and the one Tom Izzo's running at Michigan State, well, then I need to have the same types of resources they have. And, if you want to run that type of basketball program, then that's the type of basketball program we need to be running, and things got to get better around here. And it's like, yo, man, you were getting ready to go to the Sweet 16, and you were just blasting your bosses into microphones every day. What's going on? And you know what most people's belief is? He's already agreed to take the Villanova job.
Yeah.
And it's, you can see, because this is what I picked up on. Because somebody asked me, what do you make of his comments? I said, he's talking like somebody who doesn't care about angering his boss because he doesn't think he'll have the same boss in a week or 2 weeks. That's the way he's talking. Now, this whole Maryland run could get so, like they win again. And, what if they win 2 more games? Does Villanova just go, we can't wait another week? We got to get going. The transfer portal's open. And they just go another direction?
And does Maryland say, we don't care how bad this relationship is. Look at what he's doing.
And does Maryland step back up and say, hey, Kevin, we're sorry this got all sideways, but, we're ready to give you everything you need. Don't leave us. You just took us to the Final Four. You can't leave us after a Final Four run. So it's just like a weird place to be in. Maryland fans don't know whether they're keeping their coach or not. Some of them don't know whether they want to keep their coach or not because they're just mad at the way he's handling this. And Villanova is just sort of sitting there in a wait-and-see mode, or at least waiting for Maryland's season to end in some form. I saw somebody, because this is, you can imagine. Imagine you can imagine how big this is in Baltimore, because imagine if this were going on in Memphis right now. Imagine if there was a job open, John Calipari was a candidate for it, Memphis was getting ready to go to the Sweet 16, John's the coach, and it's already being reported that he might have already agreed to the job. How would Memphis fans feel today? Keep in mind, even when John left for Kentucky, on the day of his last game at Memphis, it was not a thing that John's already talked to Kentucky and he's on his way there. And I know when he came back after the loss, there's that famous news shot from the tarmac where he's like, "This is where I want to coach." So it was becoming a story once they were eliminated. But on the day of the game, I don't think Memphis fans were like, our coach has already agreed to be the next Kentucky coach. But right now there are Maryland fans who believe Kevin Willard, their coach, has already agreed to be the next Villanova coach. And some of them are so upset about that. I've seen people suggest, even media members in Baltimore suggest they should fire him and not allow him to continue in the season. If you have already agreed to leave us, leave now, and we'll have somebody else coach this Sweet 16 team the rest of the way. You're either with us or you're not. Obviously, Michigan did this once upon a time. Their head coach had already agreed to become the next head coach at Arizona State, and Michigan fired him before the NCAA tournament and promoted Steve Fisher, and then Steve Fisher won a national championship. But that was basically Michigan's perspective. Famously, a Michigan man will coach Michigan. If you've already got your foot out the door, go. We'll let somebody else finish this. The problem with that, it's a nice thing to tweet. The problem with that is just contract stuff. If you fire Kevin Willard today, you have to pay him his contract.
Yeah, good point.
If he leaves you next week or tomorrow, then he has to pay you to leave. But if he leaves, if you fire him, you got to pay him. So I understand the sentiment. Like, the heart's in the right place. Screw this guy if he's already agreed to leave us. I understand the sentiment among the fans. But practically speaking, you don't fire him. It would cost you millions and millions and millions of dollars. You're running a business. You don't fire him for those reasons, but I can understand the frustration. Either way, fun night of Sweet 16 games tonight. BYU, Alabama, Maryland, Florida, Arizona, Duke, Arkansas, and Texas Tech. As you know, all 4 number 1 seeds remain alive in this tournament. All 4 number 1 seeds are projected to win their regions, are favored in the betting markets to win their regions. So if things play as planned, this could end up being the second Final Four in history to ever have all 4 number 1 seeds in it. The last one, the only one, 2008. That was when it was the 4 number 1 seeds, Memphis one of them. That also happened in San Antonio. We're headed back to San Antonio next week. So if it does materialize, you'll get a lot of those comparisons, I'm sure.
Number 3.
Duke University has joined the chorus of folks insisting that the White Lotus has gone too far this season. And they ain't even talking about the freaky little brothers. Them brothers are wild.
Apparently.
Woo, buddy. Them brothers is wild.
I think we're going to find out that's not true, though.
Oh, I think
it's a blackmail situation. That's where that's trending.
No, he had the memory.
Did he really have the memory?
When he's sitting in the monastery, right? Is that what they call that? Like when he's sitting there with his sister.
Yeah, maybe so. The
little brother has the memory.
Maybe so.
That's the way I interpreted that.
Okay.
So Duke is not upset with the freaky brothers.
No, they're not.
That's not their issue. What Duke is upset with is the father of the freaky brothers is apparently a criminal, is suddenly a drug addict, is obviously suicidal, and walking around all day in a big Duke shirt.
Yeah.
Like their logo is on.
Yeah, that's not the picture that I wanted to put up there, but I don't think we can put the other picture up there. The picture.
You'll see it tonight. You'll see it tonight. If Caleb Love drops 30 on Duke and eliminates them from the NCAA tournament, immediately a picture of that man, that character from the White Lotus, in that Duke shirt with a gun to his head, Yeah, because he was close to killing himself.
Yeah, so that's why this is coming out right now, because they are bracing themselves for that moment when that picture goes triple platinum all over every social media site because they lose in the NCAA tournament. Because that's
going to happen.
Now they might win the national championship, right? Like, maybe they avoid it.
One of two things is happening. All right, one of two things is happening at some point over the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Either A, Duke wins the national championship, or B, a picture of that man in a Duke shirt with a gun to his head is going viral. One of those two things is happening. There is no in between. There is no in between.
Now, look, here's the thing. Like, this isn't there's a story to this. This family's from Charlotte. Like, they're a wealthy family from Charlotte. A lot of wealthy people went to Duke University. So it's not like it's just like a shot at Duke. Like, there's some story to this, bro. They're building characters.
It's just storytelling. But what Duke is
storytelling.
What Duke is arguing is you can't take our brand and put it, and use it in this way without our permission. You are defaming our university's brand by so closely attaching it to a deplorable character.
I just completely, I say, chill out. Like, that is so dumb. I'll give you another. It doesn't really work with the University of Memphis though. But if it was, if it was a Memphis shirt, same thing, I would be like, that's freaking awesome. Like, that's so cool. I know
here's the problem. Here's the problem for Duke. The toothpaste is out of the tube, so to speak. Like, this is a mini series, all right, that is already done. That scene has already been on TV.
Right.
Those memes have already been created. So I understand from a legal perspective, I guess, wanting to, quote, put a stop to this, but you won't put a stop to anything. All you're doing is drawing more attention to it. Like, right now, we're talking about this because it's a big headline.
Because you said something right.
It's a big headline. We're talking about this. And the only reason it's a big headline today is because they made it a big headline today.
Mm-hmm.
The world will make it a big headline whenever Duke loses, but that was always going to happen whether you did anything or not. Now you've just added to it by creating this whole extra day of us talking about that dude in a Duke shirt. It's just one of those where in every business in the world, there just needs to be somebody who has a PhD in common sense, and just sits down and says, all right, like, PhD in common sense here. I understand your argument, but you're just going to make things worse by doing this.
Yeah.
You accomplish nothing and make things worse. So you should just stay quiet and hope that the White Lotus ends, on schedule, and that people get more focused on the freaky brothers than the guy running around in the Duke shirt.
And that he's not the, mass murderer serial killer.
Woo!
Because that's yet to be unveiled.
This dinner party, I fear this dinner party is going to get out of hand.
I think this dinner party is going to get wild this weekend. I can't wait. What a great week of television, by the way. Just all these games. It's opening week. Like, it's everything. It's so good. Everything's so good this week. White Lotus.
Is a good week. White Lotus, Righteous Gemstones. Baseball's back. Sweet 16 is here. Grizzlies Thunder.
Big NBA games. Yeah, man. The UFL is back.
The UFL is back. The Michigan Panthers are either coming here or we're going there.
No, they're coming here. They're coming here to get an ass kicking.
The Michigan Panthers are coming to get what they deserve.
Yeah, I told you their former quarterback EJ is about to.
EJ Perry, Brown graduate. I know.
Yeah. He's about to get a little revenge on his former franchise, I think, if he's the starter. I can't tell. I've tried to find the starting lineup.
Imagine on Sunday you get to start your day watching the UFL and get to end it watching them brothers make out on the White Lotus. That's a little. I love the show though. I love the show. It's a great show. It's a wild down, man. That dinner party is going to be something.
It's going to be good.
That dinner party is going to be something. I'm looking forward to that.
Number 4.
Hey, if you ever wanted to own a drive-in, there's one for sale now. The Summer Drive-In. The Malco Summer Drive-In is officially for sale, Bennett. Is this the end of an era?
I really hope not. I really, really hope not. I saw this story and was just like, you got to be kidding me, bro. You got to be kidding me. Like, first off, it's a Memphis institution. That thing has been around since I was born. I've gone a million times in my life. We went this past summer. It was great. It's a great value. You get the double feature. It's like $25 to get your car in. I don't know, man. I really hope that they get a buyer that can save this thing, because the Summer Drive-In is awesome. It is awesome. And if you haven't gone, go. It reopens in April. Just go. Go take your family. Go take your friends. And tell me it's not awesome. Because, we sat in here and talked about last week, you playing on your phones at the movie theater and how it's become an epidemic. You can play on your phone at the drive-in.
That's right.
Like that, the drive-in's the spot for that. Dude, you can have a conversation. You just go park your car, turn on your radio, or get the speaker. I don't think they do the speakers anymore. You turn on your radio, listen to the movie, and you can chit-chat, eat your own food, like play on your phone, get a double feature.
You can make
out. Yeah, you can make out.
out.
The drive-in is great, man. The drive-in is great. It is classic Memphis, dude. The little Volkswagen Beetle spinning around on the side with all the show times on it. We can't lose this thing, man. We can't lose this. I saw that. So Malco said it has become unsustainable to continue to operate, but they will operate it until a buyer emerges. And I wish that they would elaborate more on that, like why it's not sustainable. Or are they saying because people don't go to it anymore? Again, we went last summer and there was a lot of people there. It was pretty packed. So I don't know. Maybe I went on like a bigger day than most days, but I think people go to it. I think people enjoy it, and it's a great value. And we need fun stuff to do in this city, man.
In all fairness, like that is why I wanted to settle. That's the place I wanted to settle on this story. When I saw this story, it made me like, we're losing something else. Because like you just see a story like Rail Garden's for sale. Rail Garden closes, and and then it's for sale. Initially, it was going to close for renovations, and then it just never opened. And it's like, okay, where do you take your kids in Memphis? Hey, let's go get brunch at Rail Garden. Can't do that anymore.
Right.
All right. But that is something we did. Can't do that anymore. Hey, you want to take the kids to the drive-in? Might not be able to do that anymore. Now, in fairness, I might be part of the problem, because I've been to that drive-in many times, but probably not in 20 years. It's been a long time. I don't think I've ever taken my kids to the drive-in, which, as I'm sitting here thinking through it, no idea why. That would be a fun night. That would be a great experience, because it is a fun thing to do. But like, I just have noticed we're losing stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if you could hear it. My God, I can hear it every day. Do you hear that?
Yeah, the construction.
All day long. They're building stuff. They're doing things right outside this window. I wish they'd stop. I don't think you know what it's like to stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning, and this starts 8 a.m. sharp every morning. Every morning. Yeah. I have to sleep. I sleep with AirPods in, which is not comfortable, but I sleep with AirPods in. We're just losing things.
Yes.
And I don't love that. I don't love that.
I implore anyone that hears this to go to the drive-in. So again, it reopens in April. They take a little hiatus during the winter. It reopens in April. Go to the drive-in. It's a great value. Again, I think it's like maybe $25 to get your car in. And when we were kids, we used to like cover ourselves up in the back seat with blankets, so like we could get
a few. You're a criminal.
Yeah, so we get a few extra people in there. But dude, again, it's awesome, and again, we live in this world now where people always want to be on their phones. It's we talk about like the movie theater experience, and people are so connected. You can do that at the drive-in. Like it's fine. It's a way more relaxed environment.
And you can make out.
And you can make out. Yeah. Please go to the drive-in. Take your family to the drive-in. It is an experience. No, I'm pissed about it.
Okay, Bennett,
I'm
calm
sorry.
down.
All right, I'm sorry.
Hey. Do people still make out at the movies? Bennett,
No.
you go to the movies all the time. Do you ever see young people making out?
I never see making out. I never see making out at the movies anymore.
Did that used to be a thing? Like when you were a kid, you would go to the movies, and man, if things went right, you might make out at the movies, you know? But I just thought about this. What happened? Because I just thought about this. I mean, there was a time you go to a movie theater, and like two 17-year-olds might be half doing it 3 rows in front of you, okay?
You never see that anymore.
I can't. I'm just realizing this. I don't remember ever seeing people make out in the movies anymore. Did people stop touching each other in the movies? Is that over? Is that not a thing people do anymore?
I don't think people are making out in the movies like they used to. I have not seen it in forever.
Is it because
they're on their phone?
People are too on their phone too much to even make out.
Yeah, put your phone down because I don't want to see your stupid screen while I'm trying to watch a movie, and just make out with each other.
Just make out. I'm
fine with that. That's fine. Do whatever. I don't care about that.
Is it because,
I just don't want to see your phone screen.
Is it because now the theaters have these big comfy chairs to sit in, and we're not as close to each other as we used to be? Used to, you sit in the movies, you might be sitting right next to each other. It's easier to make out. I think easier to make out in the movies in the 90s than it is right now.
They put that barrier there. You're right. There's a new barrier. There's a new barrier in these new seats that they've added. The little armrest where you put your drink holder. Used to, it was just like a little slat that was like, you know, that big. Like it was a little deal. You could just hang right over that thing now.
Man,
it's a real barrier.
Say less.
Yeah, it's a real barrier. You can get in each other's laps. Yeah, that was a real thing.
Bennett, say less. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. They knew what they were doing when they designed these new theater seats. They're like, no more making out. No, we're done with that. We're done with that.
Man, you used to get to third base no problem in a movie theater. No problem. Can you get to third base in a movie theater? Do you think anybody's getting to third base in a movie? No.
They're not.
Can't get to third.
They're not, but you can at the drive-in.
There you go, Bennett. Mm-hmm. That's the way you sell the drive-in. You want to watch a movie tonight and get to third base? Do you want to watch a movie tonight and get to third base? The Summer Drive-In is there for you. All right.
I love the drive-in. Please don't close. Please don't close. Save the drive-in.
That should be the commercial. That should be how they rebrand this thing. Do you want to see the new Marvel movie, but also get to third base? Then the drive-in is for you. That should be the rebranding. Put me in charge of this thing. I'll get business booming.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Number 5.
I went to Broadway last night. No big deal.
Look at us. We're just cultured.
I'm a theater critic now. I went to Broadway last night. No big deal. I went to see Othello. The highest grossing. It recently became the highest grossing Broadway show in history.
It's Denzel.
Starring Denzel Washington and Jake Gyllenhaal. I sat on the third row, Bennett. I bought one ticket on the third row, and I went and saw Denzel. Denzel Washington was right.
Why are they in military uniforms?
Well, do you know the story of Othello?
Yeah, but I thought it was Shakespearean.
Okay, this is interesting. They make them members of the United States military, so they Americanize the story a little bit.
Gotcha.
But they're never specific about in what ways. It's clear that they're supporting the United States military, but it's unclear when this is. The only description is sometime in the near future.
Okay. So it's like the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, it's just like a reimagined with the same sentiment of Othello, but just an Americanized future version of Othello. And it's obviously getting a lot of attention because of the stars, Denzel Washington and Jake Gyllenhaal. Honestly, it was super cool. Like, there's Denzel 10 feet in front of me, right?
Yeah.
I was not blown away by the show. I did not leave there like,
GP.
Oh my God, that was amazing. I left there like, Denzel's right there and Jake Gyllenhaal's right there, and that was cool. But that was the third Broadway show I've seen this year. I went and saw Sunset Boulevard and English as well, and this would rank a distant third.
Okay.
Even though this is the biggest thing going right now, it would rank a distant third. it just didn't seem sharp. They were both the stars were wearing earpieces. They were being fed lines, which I gather sometimes is a thing, but I don't know that either I had never noticed that before or I had never been this close before. But they were both just being fed lines like through a IFB, through an earpiece. And like Denzel flubbed a few lines, which, I mean, there's a lot of words, so whatever. I'm flubbing words right now. It just didn't seem sharp. And then I read the reviews. I intentionally didn't read them in advance because I just wanted to go in there with a clear head.
Yeah.
But I read the reviews afterwards, and the reviews have not been great.
That's kind of disappointing.
But it was a fun night. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun night. I'm glad I did it just so I could, you know, it was worth doing just for the story, just for the experience, just for there's Denzel. There's one of our all-time greats 10 feet in front of me performing Shakespeare. Like, I'll have that forever.
Yeah.
So it was worth it for that. Like, what else was I going to do? Sit here in my hotel room and, you know, look at Instagram? Like, I actually, in part, like, wanted to go because you know what they do when you walk in the door? Take your phone. Or they lock your phone up. I kind of like the idea of
do
for
they
3
really?
hours. Well, they lock it up. They put it in a little pouch. They don't know. They don't want any recording, no pictures. They don't want people looking at their phones. Your phone is literally locked up.
But do you keep it or do you leave it with them?
You keep it. You keep it. You turn it off. You drop it in a little pouch. They then lock it for you, and you keep it with you. And then as you exit, it's one of those little things like they can unlock it. Think of it like if you're at Target, you know, they have to get the little tag off at Target. It's like something like that. And they just, boom, pop it, pop, 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 pop.
I love
so when
that.
you walk out, they pop it, and then you throw your little case in a big bucket of empty cases and keep it moving. But they do lock your phone up for 3 hours. And I just kind of like the idea of having my phone locked up for 3 hours.
I like that. I like that.
I don't want to look at this for 3 hours. I'm going to look at Denzel Washington for 3 hours instead of my phone. So it was just good for all of those reasons. Nice night to just sort of clear your head a little bit and go do something different and detach, create a memory. I'm glad I did it. But I'd say most times I walk out of a Broadway show, regardless of the show, I go, that was amazing. And this wasn't amazing. I was not amazed. I'm glad I did it. But it was, how about this? When the Tony Awards, I'm not a film critic in real life, but like just based on my very surface level of it, I'll be surprised if this one wins all the awards.
Stage critic, you mean?
Yeah, stage critic.
I'm the film critic, okay?
You're the film critic. I'm a stage critic.
Yeah.
I don't think, it didn't strike me as, oh, man, they're going to really get a lot of awards for this one. It looked to me like it was, let's get two big stars to do Shakespeare, and we'll do it as best we can. But is it going to be perfect? Probably not. That's what it felt like to me.
I got
cool
you.
To see the stars and, you know, that up close, but the whole show was just, I don't know. I wasn't amazed. We'll leave it there. Be back with GP's carryout.
Debo traded from San Francisco to the Commanders for a 5th round pick. There's no other sport where you would get a player of his ilk for a 5th round pick.
Over under total yards for Debo. If they set it at 1,000, you think he hits that over?
Total yards?
Total yards from scrimmage, total yards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The Odds Couple, live at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, want exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season? Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
Anticipate each challenge. Make a quick response. Capitalize on every opportunity. And win. Greatness won't wait. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
We will get into all things Grizzlies, but first and foremost, a big congratulations to the Memphis Tigers for locking up at least a share of the AAC title. First time since joining the American Athletic Conference that they are regular season conference champs.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Show presented by Ortho South. I'm in New York City. Bennett Doyle back in Memphis inside the Built Ford Tough studio. Let's wrap this show up with GP's Carryout.
It's time for GP's Carryout. One final segment filled with stuff to take with you. It's not everything you need to know, but it's most of it. What did we learn today?
Whole bunch of stuff, but we mostly focused on your Memphis Grizzlies heading into tonight's game in Oklahoma City against the first place and league leading Thunder. They got 60 wins, only 12 losses. The Grizzlies enter with a 44-28 record. Thunder mostly healthy. Grizzlies not. Ja Morant is already ruled out with a hamstring strain. It'll be his 6th consecutive missed game. And perhaps Taylor Jenkins will provide some clarity in advance of tonight when he meets with the media. Talk to Mike Wallace about that, sort of the just uncertainty surrounding Ja Morant's latest injury. We know it's a left hamstring strain, but we don't know much more than that. So I assume on some level that'll be addressed before the game. I look forward to hearing Taylor's explanation. Either way, tonight, the Thunder have moved back. The numbers fluctuated between 10.5 and 9.5 as of this moment. It is Oklahoma City minus 10.5. So if the Grizzlies are going to win tonight and win for the second straight game, they'll have to do it as a double-digit underdog and without their franchise point guard in the lineup. But as they say, Bennett, crazier things have happened and can happen and do happen. So we'll turn it on tonight and see. 7 o'clock, you can watch it on Action News 5.
What's today's biggest game?
Let me take you to the NCAA Tournament. We'll go to the Prudential Center in Newark. Not too far from me. 8:39 Central on CBS. It's America's most watched network. It's the Network of Stars. Duke and Arizona. Duke is a 9.5-point favorite over Tommy Lloyd's Wildcats. And it's interesting because they, of course, are led by Caleb Love, the former North Carolina Tar Heel. Caleb Love has an opportunity tonight to become a college basketball legend forever, because you might remember at Carolina a few years ago, he was North Carolina's star on that team that went to the national championship game, and on its way to the national championship game, beat Duke in the Final Four, meaning Caleb Love is responsible for ending Mike Krzyzewski's career, is responsible for ending Paolo Banchero's college career, and if he were to lead Arizona to a victory over Duke tonight, would also end Cooper Flagg's college career. Imagine that as your legacy. My name's Caleb Love, and I ended the careers of Mike Krzyzewski and 2 number 1 overall picks, Paolo Banchero and Cooper Flagg. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You think he can do it?
No, I don't. I hate that you picked this game. I don't have a strong. This one. There's some weird stuff going on here with this line. I won't say funny business.
It's a big number, but it should be a big number because that's where Duke is at in the predictive metrics, rather. Just some context for you. You remember that North Carolina team last year?
Yeah.
Won the national championship, went 37-3, had 4 draft picks on the roster, probably more, but at least 4 guys that were selected in the 2024 NBA draft, including the Grizzlies' Cam Spencer. They beat everybody in the NCAA tournament by at least 13 points to finish 37-3. And their net rating at KenPom was plus 36.43. That was like 5 points better than anybody else. Plus 36.43. Keep that number in your head. Plus 36.43. That was roughly 5 full points better than anybody else in the country last season. And that's where UConn landed after winning the national championship. 6 straight games in the tournament by at least 13 points. Plus 36.43. Now, do you know what Duke's net rating is right now? Plus 39.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're 2.5 points better than where UConn finished last season after UConn blew out everybody in the NCAA tournament. That's how good Duke is. That's why Duke is the favorite to win this thing, and why Duke would be a favorite over literally anybody in the country, and a 9.5-point favorite over an Arizona team that is top 15 at KenPom. How about this? Arizona's 13th at KenPom and still a 9.5-point favorite to Duke tonight.
I think it's why I'm going to take Duke, because it just it screams to take Arizona, just because these games are tight typically. Like when you get to like the good games and the really good matchups, like it seems like they're typically tight, and so I feel like it's screaming for me to take Arizona. That's why I'm going to go Duke.
Bennett says take the Blue Devils. Win by double digits, minus 9.5. You can watch it tonight on CBS.
Can I tell you my upset?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think BYU is going to beat Alabama.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. BYU is 11-1 in its past 12 games, and the one loss is a loss to Houston. If you run the data on this at barttorvik.com, you can frame a span of games, frame a portion of the season, and then just sort of dial it down. So if you wanted to say things like, since March 1st, the best team in college basketball has been, you can just run the data from March 1st and then actually say that. I do it all the time because it's the type of stuff that sounds good on TV. It's just easy to look at. It just sounds good on TV.
Yeah.
It sounds like you put a lot of thought into something. It's like, well, if you run the numbers since Valentine's Day, Duke is blah, 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 blah. And it sounds like, oh, wow. But really, it took me 2 seconds to look that up at barttorvik.com. Here's my point. You can go back 6 weeks when BYU started this 12-game stretch and just run it there. So 6 weeks, that's a significant amount of time in a college basketball season. 6 weeks is a long time. If you run the numbers on the past 6 weeks in college basketball, the top 4 teams in the country are Duke, Florida, Houston, 3 number 1 seeds, and you know who's 4th?
BYU. Okay.
Auburn 5th. Auburn would be 5th. The other number 1 seed would be behind BYU. So for the past 6 weeks, BYU has been playing better than Alabama and as one of the top 4 teams in the entire country. I would take BYU plus the 5.5.
Yep.
And then Alabama will go out and make 17 3-pointers and beat them, right?
Of course.
But you and I are on the same page here. I think BYU beats Alabama tonight. We'll see. That game starts 6:09 on CBS.
What are we watching on TV?
Can I interest you in Paul American?
This is the Paul Brothers reality
The Paul
series.
Brothers reality show.
I saw the promo.
It launches today. So episode 1 has dropped on the Max app. So if you're watching Righteous Gemstones, Bill Maher, John Oliver, White Lotus, the Max app's a good place to be. And they've just added the Paul Brothers documentary, Paul American, episode 1, now available. It's 42 minutes. You can download it on that Max app.
What's the best thing we've read?
I don't know if it's the best, but it's the most interesting. Page 6 has got the report. Sydney Sweeney has reportedly canceled her wedding to her longtime fiance, Jonathan Davino.
We saw this coming.
Oh, my God.
This has been brewing.
And do you know what the problem is?
What's up?
Reportedly? First off, I called this in real time. reportedly, they have problems in their relationship because she is constantly working and constantly taking on flirty roles with co-stars and then leaning into that in a very public way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could find shows where you and I have talked about her promoting that film she did with Glenn Powell. And I'm like, I don't know how her fiance doesn't put a gun in his mouth.
And the new there's some new, she's working with some new guy, and a clip went viral of him like picking her up and putting her on his shoulders, and she's giggling and stuff like that. No, I will say, she is like amazing at promoting romantic comedies, like amazing, because you really do think that she's into the guy.
Oh, it's one thing to go to work and do your job.
Yeah.
That's not this, right? That's not this. What she has done is lean into the idea that she's having an affair with her co-stars. Like leaning into it. Like the whole world thinks you're cheating on your fiance with your co-star, and you lean into it. You play it up. You don't try to deny it or roll your eyes at it, but like do things and say things that give it oxygen. She even hosted SNL, and the monologue leaned into that. And I just couldn't help but think this whole time, this guy, because keep in mind, there's another problem here. There's an age gap, which doesn't always have to be a problem, but it often becomes one. So there's a 14-year age gap. He's 41, she's 27. And then their lives changed dramatically. They were both wherever they were in life, and then she became the America's sex symbol, and he's, relative to her, just the old guy who we don't even really know what he does. When the dynamics of a relationship change like that, that can get difficult. And then when you combine it with the whole world thinks you're sleeping with this younger, hotter man, and you are actually playing into it, I just didn't think there was any way for a relationship to survive all that. That's just a lot of stuff to survive.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You got to be the strongest-minded person in the world to be able to deal with all that, navigate it without it popping up and being a problem somewhere. And now we have the report from page 6. Wedding is called off. They, quote, have major issues, and it's all tied to that stuff.
That's okay. This is going to be her. This is going to be her launch into okay, let me put it like this. In the next 5 years, she will have won an Oscar.
No.
Yes, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Just wait. I'm telling you.
I don't even think Sydney Sweeney thinks she's going to win an Oscar.
I'm telling you. I know she's made some, and she's done the romantic comedies. I know she's been in some bad stuff like Madam Web. Dude, she's good on Euphoria. You already know that. You agree she's good on Euphoria, right?
She's not the one winning the awards on Euphoria.
I'm telling you, just wait. She was in this movie called Immaculate, which was like a horror movie. I thought it wasn't a great movie. She was really good in it. She was in that reality show that was our movie that was on HBO. She was really good in that. I'm just telling you, I think that 5 years, she will have won an Oscar. Bet.
I will take that bet for however much. She does not strike me as a future Oscar winner, but maybe. But I would
mark
take the
my
bet.
words.
If you were actually offering the bet, I would promise you I would take it. And I say this as a Sydney Sweeney fan. I don't think this is going to be her launch to Oscar stardom, but oh, buddy, whenever she starts dating, it will be the biggest story on TMZ. Like whoever's dating, and if she circles back to Glenn Powell and that becomes a thing, well then, I'm sure that'll be great for the back page of the New York Post and all the other tabloids. So Sydney Sweeney, apparently available. Wedding is called off. Wasn't hard to see this coming.
What's on tap for tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow's Friday, so we'll look back at this Grizz-Thunder game, look back at tonight's Sweet 16 games, get ready for tomorrow's Sweet 16 game. Baseball season, the Mets play today, the Orioles play today.
We got a big series right off the bat. A revenge series. We're in Toronto.
Bennett. You got it right. It's a fun time of the year.
Yeah, man.
It's a fun time of the year. And I look forward to talking with you again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll enjoy mine. We're going to be back here Tomorrow at 10. Till then, be careful, be kind, be good. Rep your hood.